Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Let me welcome you to The Takeout. Facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passions, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. Future founding father and the second president of the United States, John Adams, said that in 1770 as defense counsel to British soldiers accused of murder in what has come to be known as the Boston Massacre. Adams's motives and his successful defense of those British soldiers is not what is on our mind today, which marks 5 years precisely since rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol to violently block certification of the 2020 presidential election. Now, Adams's words remind us that wishes, inclinations, and passions tremble and wither before stubborn facts. Always have, always will. One can, of course, cling to wishes, inclinations, and passions, but one cannot surmount the obstacle of immovable, hardened facts, such as these. The 2020 presidential election was tested in court dozens of times. Recounts confirmed it in all relevant jurisdictions, in some cases more than once. Those who assailed that election and then were sued subsequently over their reckless allegations have lost in court over and over and over. Those who committed violence against the peaceful transfer of power were convicted or pled guilty. That they were subsequently pardoned cleansed their criminal record, but did not erase the facts of their offenses. President Trump was indicted for his role in the Capitol riot. And as this new year dawned, literally on New Year's Eve, the House Judiciary Committee, led by Republicans, released a video interview with Jack Smith, the prosecutor who brought the case.
There is no historical analog for what President Trump did in this case. As we said in the indictment, he was free to say that he thought he won the election. He was even free to say falsely that he won the election. One of the strengths of our case and why we felt we had such strong proof is our witnesses were not going to be political enemies of the president. They were going to be political allies. We had numerous witnesses who would say, I voted for President Trump. I campaigned for President Trump. I wanted him to win. The Speaker of the House in Arizona, the Speaker of the House in Michigan. We had an elector in Pennsylvania who is a former congressman who is going to be an elector for President Trump, who said that what they were trying to do was an attempt to overthrow the government and illegal.
Among the facts most stubborn about this day 5 years ago, it was an attempt to overthrow an election. That attempt was illegal. It was a crime against this constitutional republic, one that our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passions cannot alter, diminish, or whitewash. We begin tonight with Scott MacFarlane. Scott, what was it like on Capitol Hill today? Walk us through some of the things that went down.
A remarkably depressing day for everybody at the Capitol, the staff and the members who were there, and I can explain why. This is one of those things which consumed half of the Congress today. The Republicans in the U.S. House were not on the grounds today. They were at the Kennedy Center with the president. So the House was in half recess and half was there. The Democrats were there. They staged a hearing as best they can in the one room they're allowed to with some of the victims, the police victims, the witnesses, the members of Congress who were hiding and evacuating that day, recounting not just the horrors of the day, but the ongoing threat to democracy and the ongoing threat of the pardons of the 1,500-plus January 6 defendants. It was one voice today on Capitol Hill talking about January 6th, with just one exception. Republicans didn't mention it, didn't talk about it, didn't commemorate it. So you have what is clearly major, an ongoing toxicity, divide, and politicization of January 6th, which at the time when we saw it in real time, we thought would be impossible 5 years later.
I want to play for our audience some sound from that hearing that you mentioned, kind of an ad hoc hearing organized by Democrats in the one room that they're allowed to do that. First voice you'll hear, former Speaker of the House, now Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, and former Republican Congressman from Illinois, Adam Kinzinger. Let's watch.
For over 3 hours, we begged him to send the National Guard. He never did it. He took joy in not doing it.
I get asked frequently, Why are you still going on about January 6th? Can't you just let it go? If our country had achieved real accountability and deterrence, we could move on.
Once I got away from the mega cult and started educating myself about January the 6th, I knew what I did was wrong.
That last voice, Pamela Hemphill, who's been on this program, talking about her transition from someone who doubted that election, showed up on that day on January 6th, and then subsequently renounced those previous beliefs and found herself victim to what she just described in that hearing as a cultish obsession with denialism about the 2020 election.
Adam Kinzinger made a point that I think it was echoed several different ways. Several different people did so today. Why don't you just let it go? In fact, Republican Senator Jim Justice was on the floor of the Senate saying just that today. Let it go. Let's move on. That, I think, misinterprets the situation. January 6th is a kinetic story, an ongoing story with new chapters to be written about how it has further divided Americans, further inflamed U.S. politics. The denialism of it re-traumatizes the victims and also questions the stability of the next election.
And hard to let it go, Scott, when there's a plaque that a federal law says should be erected on the U.S. Capitol to mark that day, and it's still not there.
Yeah, the Speaker of the House, after a couple of years of silence on this, finally explained why he's not going to hang it. He says it's not a lawful plaque. He says the statute under which it was devised requires every police officer to be named, not just the police departments. That's not tenable. There were like 3,000 police officers, some of whom don't want their names out there. Tom Tillis, the Republican from North Carolina, the one who spoke up in defiance about the pardons from January 6th today, says he might try to bridge a gap here and get this thing approved now.
From North Carolina, Senator Tom Tillis. We'll keep an eye on that. Scott MacFarlane, as always, thank you very much, sir.